I am back here in Athens. This is very close to the origin point of this trip. Athens was my second stop after Barcelona on the way to Larnaca and Nicosia. And it's fun, this is not really intentional. I'm not trying to retrace my steps back to New York, but it's just kind of working out that way. And I booked the Hotel Tonight app, I booked a last minute boutique hotel here by Omonia Square called Brown Hotel. And not that I'm a hotel reviewer, but it has rooftop jacuzzis. It's kind of cold actually though. At least compared to Cyprus, it feels like a cool fall day here. And I think the Acropolis is somewhere way off in the distance. I think it might be blocked by that building there. But unlike my first time here, where I just was on a layover between Barcelona and Larnaca, I've actually got a full 24 hours here before my flight out tomorrow. And it's kind of gorgeous here actually. It's gray and cold. There's also like blue sky over there. And yeah, this hotel is like very busy, high energy, a lot of people. The room is like small, but really kind of cool and comfortable. It's got a pretty cool aesthetic. But yeah, it's a lot smaller than the studio apartment I had in Larnaca. But hopefully tomorrow, if all goes as planned, I'm gonna spend a full day exploring Athens and maybe actually see the Parthenon this time. Now this is my type of civilizational signaling. This old marble bench that's waxed to hell and ground down a bit, but still in decent shape. This is a dope little square in Athens. I am going to Exarcheia to get some lunch, and then I'm going to try and go to the Acropolis. It is what passes for a miserable day by Greek standards. It is cool and raining on and off, but really not all that bad. So, gonna go on a little adventure / makeshift walking tour. So I'm on the border basically of Omonia and Exarcheia. This is a random thought I had coming on the metro yesterday. So maybe it has to do with the sort of cross-continental transmutation of hip-hop culture, but none of the graffiti in Athens, which covers what seems like the entire city, is in the Greek alphabet. All of the graffiti in the Greek capital is written in Latin script. All the years I've been coming to Greece, that just kind of hit me. I don't see any graffiti that is actually written in Greek. All of the graffiti is either in English or transliterated into Latin alphabet. Just a little observation that for some reason just struck me yesterday after coming here for 25 years. I just went in this really cool kind of retro Seiko store here, and I was seeing if my Baghdad Seiko watch is real or not. I bought it in one of the Baghdad episodes for about $20 US. I think I paid 25,000 dinars, and the man in there was really helpful, and I said, is this real or fake? Can you tell just by looking at it? He was a longtime Seiko dealer, and he said it's impossible to know. Basically, he said if it's a fake, it's a really good fake. And he gave me the number of the American Seiko distributor or something, and he said when you get home, give these guys a call and see what they say. He said I need to look for a serial number or something. I thought it would just be kind of funny to investigate my own purchase. The store was really cool too. So he said that in the Greek market, Seikos, a men's Seiko can start at 300 and can go all the way up to 5,000. But that further afield, places like Zurich or London, you can find Seikos for like twice that. And I have an original Seiko that was my father's, which I think dates back to sometime in the 1970s. That's like a prized possession of mine, and that was part of the reason why I got this bad boy in Baghdad. Just as sort of a, that's why I picked Seiko specifically, of all the different watches that the Sudanese watch guy was selling. I like that Athens not only still has payphones, but has an entire bank of them. That's kind of cool. It reminds me, oh, more payphones. It reminds me of my very earliest travels here. Hadn't been to Athens for a good few years, and apparently during the pandemic, actually at the very beginning, they totally redesigned Omonia Square and really cleaned it up. And over here, this is funny, there's this sculpture over here called the Five Circles, and there's a term, at least back in the US, called hostile architecture, which is when you design something so that people can't skateboard on it, or bums can't sleep on it, or drug addicts can't pass out on it. And this is the most extreme iteration of hostile architecture I have ever seen. This is like, I mean, it's almost a caricature of the term hostile architecture. The sculpture is cool and whatnot, but I mean, really? Like, it's like, what is the point of this? Like, you cannot possibly enjoy this in terms of public space for just the average person. So the sculpture kind of clangs around a little bit in the wind. It's really breezy here today. Wow, if I had a euro to my name and a record player, this would be a dream purchase of mine. Blade Runner on vinyl. Oh man. This girl that my friend used to date in Barcelona, her father is in the very opening of Blade Runner. And yeah, that is, and I've also used music from Blade Runner 2049 in a recent short here on YouTube. It's just, wow. That soundtrack is one of my favorite things. I'm walking through Exarcheia to try and get some street food. I don't know what's going on here. They're often riot police that are just here as sort of a standard practice. Just down the hill, they have buses of them just stationed around. Oh, there are even more coming this way. So, I mean, it's an anarchist neighborhood, but it has the effect of like a little bit of a war zone in a certain sense. This street here in Exarcheia is really interesting. It's like a little enclave of vegan cuisine, like vegan street food, and it's also a little hot spot for Turkish students. And like this bar here is a Turkish Marxist-Leninist bar. Really interesting area, and a lot of Turkish being spoken. And so here I'm getting a vegan Slovak. Yeah, this place is really cool. And yeah, dig this. Dig that poster right there. Kind of reminds me of the PKK. Just that they have, I mean, the PKK is based on, you know, Marxist-Leninist principles in its origin, the Kurdistan Workers' Party I'm referring to. But yeah, just the way that those communist fighters, I guess, guerrillas, are dressed. And yeah, they kind of remind me of the PKK, and they have noms de guerre. And then just dig all the poster work here. Man, this place is so amazing to walk around. It's kind of a free-for-all here as far as even doing your own street art or stickering. This banner here, TKPML or TKPML in Turkish, is the phonetic Türkiye Communist Party, Marxist-Leninist. So this neighborhood is not just a bastion of indigenous Athenian politics, but it's also an area of like, far left Turkish exile politics, which to me just adds a whole nother layer of fascination to Athens, which is an already well layered city for thousands of years. And speaking of thousands of years, I'm going to try and properly go to the Acropolis today. I'm going to take a decently long walk, because my flight to Dublin isn't till much, much later. And I've got a whole free day in Athens. And the weather's getting better. The sun is fighting to come out. It's not quite working, but it's trying. The art here is out of this freaking world. I mean, Exarcheia is like a giant Barcelona on steroids. It is so vivid and so visual. It's just really cool to explore. And I like that it's got these like sort of semi-walking streets too. The streets are, it's just really tight. A classic. You can't not love that. You have to admit, Antifa has a very heavy street team here in Athens. Like their wheat paste game is on point. Their stuff is everywhere. It's like it's on almost every corner. That vegan souvlaki was so good, I actually went and got a second one. And then here, I'm having a pomegranate and orange mix for €1.20, and it's so good. Wow, I'm a little bit lost here, but in a good way. Athens is a really cool place if you're not in a hurry to lose your bearings a little bit. This thing is amazing looking. Just look at the craftsmanship on this thing. It's one of those objects where I'm like, did anybody build this today? Doubt it. Really beautiful. So pedestrian friendly. And also like these walking streets get you away from the very loud and very polluting traffic. Athens has always been known for its really aggressive traffic. And these walking streets, they offer a bit of a temporary respite until you get to the next busy intersection. This is what I mean. The traffic here is utterly relentless. And there are a lot of older vehicles, so it's disproportionately loud. For example, in like Dubai or Riyadh, where most of the vehicles are like maybe less than 5 years old, still a lot of traffic, but it's way quieter. Athens is just really loud. But it's also the way that it's designed, because these streets and the buildings and the building materials used sort of serve to create warrens that are like a huge echo chamber for exhaust, essentially. Also in the original use of the phrase echo chamber, not describing the internet or social media trends. Although Athens is often described as the birthplace of either Western democracy or Western civilization, or Western this or Western that, it is every bit a city of the East. It's far more, in my opinion, like a Turkish city or even a Georgian city than it is a city in Western Europe in the present tense. Just the feel of it, the lack of a sort of planned layout, the chaos of the movement, the sounds, the food, the music. Mainland Greece is an extension of the Balkans. This is essentially the Balkan Peninsula. And I think a lot of the sort of cultural relics of Balkan history kind of bubble up to the surface in modern day Greece. And so Greece today, how it connects to ancient Greece. I said this in my Athens video that was the 3rd episode of this series. Like, that's what fascinates me so much, is how the ancient world and the world of Aristotle and Euripides and Heracles and all of these characters of the ancient world. How does this actually relate to the nation state of today's Greece in the 21st century? And it's kind of intellectually difficult to reconcile with if you're not a historian of Greece from the ancient to the medieval to the present. It's a difficult thing to grapple with. Rather than being a pure derivative of ancient Greece, I think that the peoples and culture of present Greece, of Greece that is the reality today, is an amalgam of different cultures, from the Ottoman Empire to the ancient wars with Persia. And it just has more of a almost non-Islamic Middle Eastern feel to it in an urban sense. Just the energy here feels so much more like I was saying, like Turkey, or Tbilisi in Georgia, or even Beirut. It's crossing the intersections here is scarcely more orderly than in Beirut or even Amman. There are at least lights to stop at. And Athens today is extraordinarily cosmopolitan in a global sense, partly because Greece has become a node for global migration from Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. And it's really, Athens has a much more complicated identity than the Athens of history, where the Greeks were, the ancient Greeks were either at war with themselves or with empires abroad. Today's Athens is like, I don't know if it's a melting pot, but there are a lot of kinds of people here. I don't know. I don't think there is very much in terms of, efforts in terms of, assimilation, which has become I think that's considered a very naughty word in today's lexicon. But it's a place that just keeps getting more interesting, essentially.